Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Zoomin With Zack. It's the best time of the year, y'all. It's football season. It was also my birthday a couple weeks ago, so that's great. The countdown to 40 has just started, so Jesus. But it's football season. Eagles started off with a very interesting win. I'll take it. I'm looking forward to what happens this upcoming Monday night, but we're going to talk a little birds today. You know, we always get into people's careers, and we're going to do that too. But it's always great when we can add some sports into the show. So this is going to be a fun episode today. Let's get it going with Zoomin With Zack. Everybody, welcome to another episode of Zoomin With Zack. Super excited for today's show. Make sure you are liking, commenting, and sharing. You want to get this show out to all of your friends and family, especially if you're a Birds fan. You're going to see why in a minute, but especially if you're a Birds fan. And of course, I got to start every show off with my dad joke. Why was the ghost asked to join the football team? All right. If you think you know the answer, put it in the comments. Why was the ghost asked to join the football team? Now, I went with a ghostly, football-y question. A, because it's fall. Halloween will be here sooner than you know it. But more importantly, it is football season. And I'm gonna bring on as many of my football friends as possible because I've actually got a lot in this area now. So this dude is someone who I've known now for a few years, had the chance of working with him on a show. And when I tell you, when you hear his intro, this is how he starts every show that he does. And when I tell you it gets me pumped, it gets me pumped. So I'm happy to introduce you to my buddy, Geoff Mosher. Geoff, what's up, man?
Inside the Birds is back, Zach. What's going on, brother? We're back.
We are back. We are back. Super excited to have you, my man. Super excited to have you. For those of you who don't know, Geoff is the co-host of Inside the Birds. Him and Adam Kaplan. They have an amazing platform. I mean, it's podcast, webcast. They have written content, and they're insiders. So this isn't your fluff stuff. This is like they have sources that they won't even tell me who they are. But Geoff, tell the people a little bit more about yourself and what you guys do with the Birds.
Yeah, you nailed it. We are insiders. We do an Inside the Birds podcast. Comes out 3 times a week during the season, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, usually, depending on game day. Usually game day is Sunday. That'll change a little bit this coming week, but we got a website, InsideTheBirds.com. As Zach knows, we do a pregame show that he helps to produce for us. We're now doing a postgame show with Trey Thomas, the pregame show, Greg Cosell, Jason Avant, myself, Adam. We got a Patreon channel now where we're giving bonus exclusive content for free. Well, no, not for free. I'm sorry. We're giving bonus exclusive content for those who subscribe. We've got a radio show on The Fanatic on Monday nights. And I like to call it our burgeoning empire, our burgeoning digital media Eagles coverage empire. Is that good? Burgeoning, like right? Burgeoning. Yeah.
No, that's
awesome, this thing
man.
Just started as a podcast, and now it's like it's like a small digital media company. So
I love it, and it's not small, y'all. He's being extremely modest when he says that. This platform is really awesome, and of course, I don't just say that because I get a chance to work with him, but like the content is rich. I'll even show you guys some photos. This was Inside the Birds when me and my buddy James, you see the back of James right there, and we started working with these guys during the pandemic. So during the pandemic, he manages to get sponsors on board and have this great show. And this was us producing it. Where was that? Goose Island, back when Goose Island was on. Yeah. And then last year we moved over to Bet Rivers. So this is us pregame, just kind of going over some stuff, pregame to the pregame in preparation. And I also got a picture of me and my man James there producing the show. This is what it looks like for me when I'm for Geoff when we're on the other side of the camera getting stuff ready to go. But when I tell you this year, I mean, we're still at Bet Rivers, but we have a different set. You can see the gaming floor a little bit. Like, it is impressive. And we kicked it off with a bang with week 1. But Geoff, do me a favor. Tell people a little bit about like how you even got into having this podcast and doing it? Like, because you were in radio before, right?
I was in that. That was the middle of my career. My career has had like
Wow.
sort of my media career has had three different stages because I
Hmm.
started off. And by the way, to your point earlier, I wouldn't have 10 or 15 years ago thought that I'd be sitting here talking about what I'm doing now with you because the industry changes so much. You know, internet,
Right.
technological advances. I didn't even know what a podcast was even months before we started the Inside the Bird
Wow.
podcast.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I did, but it's like I really didn't know what it was. So, I had done one before that, but it almost seemed like a hobby more than a profession. But
Gotcha.
yeah, my career started off like a lot of people in my industry, Zach, a sports writer, working for a newspaper. I always wanted to be in the sports media industry. I went to Penn State, thought I was going to come out as the next Sports Center anchor, fell in love with writing instead, was able to get a reporting job for a newspaper in Central Jersey called the Courier News in Bridgewater.
Hmm.
Wound up covering high school sports, minor league baseball. Then, after 6 years and almost getting out three times, I wound up getting a job. I was supposed to cover the Phillies for the News Journal in Delaware, the state, the newspaper of the state.
Hmm.
And I was on the Phillies beat for about 3 weeks of the offseason. A lot of movement going on. The Eagles beat opened up. I asked to do it. I'd never covered NFL football up to that point. They gave me the job after striking out on other guys. So I took it, ran with it there. Think I helped make that beat. I had to learn the ropes on how to be an reporter who didn't just write stories but sort of worked sources and networked, and that took me a while
Right.
compared to people who worked at the Inquirer and Daily News and probably had a little bit more of a leg up on that and maybe more mentors in that regard. So,
Right.
but I learned what I could, broke some fairly big stories my days on the Eagles beat at the News Journal, which wasn't known for breaking a lot of stories. Was able to parlay that at the time into the industry changing. I parlayed that into becoming the Eagles insider for Comcast Sportsnet, as it was known back then in Philadelphia. They were
Hmm.
starting their kind of initiative to get more digital with their coverage. They had the csnphilly.com website. They wanted more insidery stuff. At the time, they were just sort of aggregating things and relying on their TV station, but they were building up their website. So they hired me to both write for the website, be a reporter, but then also do TV and internet shows. And that's where I started to get my TV experience, which I had none of prior to getting to Comcast. So you can imagine how
Gotcha.
fun my first week and month and year at Comcast was, where they're constantly putting me on camera, doing shows, doing stand-ups, doing things that I had zero experience doing. And now that's
Right.
kind of the norm. You see NFL Network do that. You see ESPN. They just hire reporters and make it work with them. You know, they hire like talent helpers, right, to figure out how to get you accustomed to TV. So,
Hmm.
which I had a little bit of help there at Comcast. So, I was there for 3 years, the best job I ever had. I loved every second of it, broke a lot of big stories, became kind of a known reporter in the area.
Hmm.
Had to leave after third year on my own because of what I would say contractual dispute. Nothing against the company. We just didn't see eye to eye on a salary. So I moved
Gotcha.
on. Did some work for 97.5 The Fanatic right after that as a sports talk host, which I liked because it sort of took me away from just talking about the Eagles. Like, baseball is actually my favorite sport, my first love, I should say.
Oh wow.
So I got
Okay.
to, yeah. So I got to talk Eagles, Phillies, Sixers, Flyers, little college football, everything. So that was a great experience. Where I was there for a couple of years. I was hoping to kind of, I did go up to the ladder to the point where I was doing Monday through Friday, 6 o'clock p.m. till 10 p.m. A lot with Devon Givens one summer, who I love, great dude. But then I just didn't get what I was looking for after that. And then Adam Kaplan, who had been at ESPN and was among the wave of layoffs when they went when they like laid off 100 people in their talent department.
Hmm.
He came up to me and said, we should do something. Let's start a podcast. His friend Billy Osborne, who was on the Eagles practice squad, joined up with us. He thought it was a good idea, and so we started this Inside the Birds podcast that we thought we would. At the time, there weren't a lot of reporter podcasts. There were some Eagles fans podcasts, but so we
Hmm.
thought we could give some people in our audience, this growing podcast audience at the time, it's 5-6 years ago, something different that you couldn't get in a podcast form, which is report. It's almost like the reporter notebook you used to love to read in the Sunday newspaper, but now it's in digital form, right? Audio form. So we did that, had some early success with our pilot episodes, aligned with WIP year one to sort of promote it, and they helped us produce it. Then after a year, we left on our own, and that's brought us to where we're at now, where we just started Inside the Birds, made it an LLC, added the website, added the radio network, added the pregame show, added postgame show, and all these things that I call my burgeoning empire. So that's my story in a
That's so
nutshell.
awesome. It's the snowball effect, man. Once you start doing good content and people respect it, not only do you get addicted to doing it, you get good at doing it, and now it's like you got to hit people in different areas. So different
Yeah,
types
it's
of
funny.
shows, different types
It's
of content.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt. It's funny because like along the way, the ability to adapt to new technology, new media has been crucial. And a
Hmm.
lot of people in my industry couldn't or wouldn't do it. And I saw that early on. Like when I told you, when I became the Eagles reporter at the News Journal, it's because there was consolidation and downsizing, and there were people who were columnists or just feature writers that were starting to kind of become less relevant because they weren't, and older writers all across the city and country that just like, I'm not going to use Twitter, I'm not going to use Facebook, I'm not going to engage, this is all extra work that I shouldn't have to do. And maybe they were right philosophically, but they became the quote unquote dinosaur of the industry and were the first people chopped. So thankfully, unfortunately for them, but thankfully for me, I was able to see that you have to constantly adapt. And this is not like being a doctor or a
Right.
lawyer where
Hmm.
your job ain't going to change too much over the years, right? You can't let your age or your inability to understand what's going on with technology, the internet, impede your progress, or else you'll be left behind.
100%. 100%. Now I want people to get to know you a little bit more,
Okay.
and how I go about doing that is my favorite part of the show: 3 random questions. So what I need you to do, sir, is give me a 3-digit number. None of the numbers can be the same, and I'm gonna give you 3 questions that correspond with those numbers. So what are you
Okay.
going with?
I'm going to go with 369.
The 369. All righty. Let's see what we got for you here. Question number 3. Looking ahead, what's something major you hope to accomplish in the next 2 years?
What is something major I hope to accomplish in the next 2 years? Man, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do it in 2 years, but I'm not. I run a lot. I really don't like running. Like some people love to run, like marathon runners and everything. I do it
Right.
because I have to run to sustain
Right.
because I eat
Yeah.
too much. But I would like to run a marathon. I would like to
Nice.
accomplish that and finish
Nice.
it.
And what makes you think you can't do it in 2 years?
Time. I mean,
What's like your max distance right now in terms of like?
the longest I've done, I think, is 12 miles.
Okay.
Right. I've run
Gotcha.
Broad Street to 10. I've run a few 10 milers in my life. I think I did 12 once just on my own. But what's a marathon? It's like what, 24, 30?
20.
I don't even.
Yeah, it's mid-20s, I recall.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Back when I used to do
Did
them.
you ran a marathon? Really?
In my mind, like I do it often.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Um, so your next number was 6.
Uh-huh.
You're familiar with this question. What skill set did you gain or improve during the quarantine? Now, I won't be able to use this question a year from now, 2 years from now. I feel like we're out of it, but like it wasn't that long ago. Like everyone remembers, like you had to adapt, you had to do different stuff. So, was there a
Mhm.
skill set or something that you improved during that time?
Yeah, I think I would say probably like video editing because we
Ah,
had to
that's
do a lot of
good.
stuff at home and with Inside the Birds and just sort of producing things and making short clips. I finally just sat down and I sometimes I get like really intimidated by stuff that I don't know, and I lean too much on somebody else to help me. But I this time I just pulled up the iMovie, and someone's going to listen to this and be like, dude, this is like really easy stuff that you're claiming to have, figured out. But I wasn't used to it. So I figured out iMovie and some other video editing apps that come with computers and how to use that. And that's been helpful to me. It's actually helped me learn other things because I gave myself the confidence by learning that.
So I love that that's what you picked up. That's a skill that I picked up prior to the pandemic, but I was using iMovie. And during the pandemic, I elevated to using Final Cut Pro and editing like on a deeper level. So that was
Sure.
my enhancement over the quarantine, was like stepping up from like the basic editors to like your big boy editors. Now, granted, I still ain't doing nothing more than a couple commercials here and there, but I really enjoy it. And it was the skills from using iMovie that made it easy for me to pick up using this computer behind me.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, all about that. And let's see, your last question. What's one of the biggest hurdles you've overcome or didn't overcome, and what have you learned from it?
One of the
Good
biggest
one.
hurdles I've overcome
Or
or did
didn't
not
overcome.
overcome.
Deep.
Well, I'm going to go back to. I'll make it the one that I've overcome. The biggest hurdle, I think, professionally at least, is the wherewithal to really tough out those times where you're not doing what you want to do. And I know everybody probably encounters that in their own profession, but when you're a sports writer, for the most part, back when I came up through the chain, it's a little different now. Like, you want to cover big time athletes, you want to cover the NBA, you want to cover major leagues, you want to cover NFL, but you don't get to do that right from the start. I had to cover
Right.
high school sports and minor league baseball, and like I was telling you, for 6 years, right? That's a long time, and there were days where I'm like, I'm a grown man, and I'm sitting here at a high school game, right? A girls' basketball game or something for a newspaper, when I got friends who are lawyers and doctors or just whatever they're doing, they're accomplished. And it's funny because my friends would always say, "Hey, you're doing what you want. That we're stuck behind these corporate jobs, whatever." I'm like, but this is not what I want. I want to be among the few who get to cover
Right.
actual professional or high level college sports. And there were so many times, Zach, where I woke up and I said, I just have to get out. I have to just bite the bullet, say I'm not going to get to do it. But I never did. And I stuck with it. And thankfully, I got a few breaks along the way.
Oh man, that's fantastic. I think the message of perseverance is strong, and we're not gonna get into my story, but I've had those moments as well, and it is very tough to push on.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm proud to say when your mindset is right and the grind is there, like, you succeed, you get through it, and you're in an awesome space, man. I think you're one of the top Eagles pundits and analysts in the city, and the platform's blowing up, man. The
Thank
platform's
you, man.
blowing up. So
We certainly
congratulations.
wouldn't be where we were without you and James and all the great production you guys do for our shows.
Appreciate it, man. Appreciate it, man. And the funny thing is, even on our end, there were years ago where we were doing our little show in our basement. We're like, this is a struggle. Like, people want to be on sets and make bigger shows and this, that, and the other. And look where we're
How
at
about week
today.
one last year? That might have been the biggest
Uh,
hurdle that I forgot we overcame.
I think James just stopped having like palpitations when you mentioned that as of
uh,
week one this year. Like,
yeah, we
that's
needed
been
week
in his
one
mind ever since.
to put that to rest, no doubt.
Right, right. But this has been a fantastic show, man. I really appreciate you coming on board, folks. Make sure you're following and subscribing to the Inside the Birds YouTube channel. They're on all the social platforms. You can ask Adam and Geoff any question anytime on social. If it's a dumb question, they might make fun of you, but if it's a good question, they actually will answer it. And of course, check out their Patreon as well, because you can ask questions on the live show too. Before I kick it over and close out the show, we have a question to answer.
Mm-hmm.
Why was the ghost asked to join the football team? Geoff, what's your thought?
It's got to be something with booing, right? Like, it's got to get him to
Mm,
stop booing them, maybe.
solid guess. Not accurate.
No, oh
No, you ready?
man. Go ahead.
They needed more team spirit.
Ah, man. I think I like my punchline better.
It well, it's catchy. It's not supposed to be great. Like, it's supposed to be a little corny. They need a little
That's
more spirit. Spirits,
sure.
ghosts.
Yeah.
Eh,
I think spirits,
yeah.
I think, Jack Daniels.
All right. Well,
Maker's Mark.
fair, fair. No one guessed it, so I'm gonna say it was a good joke. Folks, again, thank you so much for watching. Please continue to like, comment, share the show. And I'm going to hand it over to my man, Geoff, to take us home. And remember, go birds.
Big thanks to everybody. I hope you enjoyed the show. I appreciate Zach bringing me here to tell my story. Everybody's got a great story. So I'm appreciative for Zach for giving me the platform to share it with everybody watching. He's a great human being. So keep watching Zoom In With Zack as much as you can and get to learn more about Zach. He's a great dude.